So hello guys, welcome to my channel Pro SDET with AJ. So today onwards I'm going to start a brand new series of performance or load testing using K6 and JavaScript. So let's begin. Let's understand what is K6. For that, let's visit K6 official website. I'll search with K6 documentation. Very first link is by Grafana Labs. Grafana K6 tool is by Grafana Labs. So this is the documentation. You can understand from here what is K6, how it is used, and all, right. So K6 is basically used to perform a load test and find out your resilience of your infrastructures, right. So K6 is basically used for load and performance testing, browser performance testing, performance and synthetic monitoring, automation, performance test, chaos, and infrastructure testing, right. And okay, so if you are a beginner, right, so you can visit this page. How it describes how you can install the K6 and all. If you are on Debian, you can follow those commands on. If you are on Fedora, you can execute those commands. If you are on Mac OS, you can install K6. If you are on Windows, through command line, you can pass this Choco install K6. Choco is chocolatey package manager through which you can install this K6 tool. Or else, like you can simply download the tool, the package installer. Since I already have downloaded and installed it, just double click. You will ask to since I have already installed it, it's asking me to repair. Let's go ahead and repair. So yep, that's it. You can click on finish. And how you can validate, you can open any IDE. For example, here I'm using IntelliJ IDEA as an IDE to edit and compile the code. So I'll just verify in terminal by K6 version. If you are able to see this K6 version, then that means your K6 is properly installed and up and running. So if you don't see the version, right, you just have to visit the K6 documentation or just put a comment below. So I would be able to answer to your problem. Cool. And before we jump into writing the script, let's go to some public APIs. I'll just go to request response public APIs. We can pull some existing APIs. I'll create a new API here, a get request. If I try to hit, I'm getting 401 unauthorized. That means I have to pass XAPI key in headers. So I'll just get the XAPI key from here itself. I'll just put this as a value. The key will be XAPI key, right? Now if I hit this request, we will get the response for this particular get request. Now one thing, if you notice, you have a lot of key value pairs in the response body, but here our main goal is to validate 200. okay, that's it. We are not worrying about the response of the API, right? So let's go and write a script to perform a load test for this get request. Okay, so let me create one folder here. I'll just name it as K6 tutorials. So all tutorials we are going to put into this particular folder. Cool. Let's create a file into it, a JavaScript file. So I'll just name it as tut1 dot, or I'll just put get request.js. So here you will get a new JS file created. Now first thing first, let's import required libraries and modules and functions, right? So to begin with, I'll just put import HTTP, because HTTP is the method that we will be using to hit the request. HTTP from, let's say, K6 semicolon. That's it. So here you have imported your HTTP module from K6. Next step is import functions. So while importing functions, we need different types of functions. Let's say I'll just complete this from K6. You have to put it in single quotes. So first function that I want to import here is slip function. Slip, this function will help us to pause the execution for certain duration. This helps in adding a delay in chaining requests, right? So we should be able to perform the load test on chaining requests. Later we would also need a function called group, right? So you can categorize different types of requests under different groups. And we would need one more function called check. Check is a function used to perform the assertions, right? So any test, any script should end up validating something. So we would need this check function to perform the assertions. Now coming to the request part, as we know, to hit this request, we had to pass this header. Header was XAPI key for authorization, right? So let's define a constant that will pass the required header information. So I'll just put const as let's say I'll name it as API key equals to, in single quote, what was the API key. I'll just bring it from their website only. This statement ends with semicolon. Yep. Now let's call the default function export default function. So this export, when we say export default function, right, it is an entry point for JavaScript, right? So I'll just define this, and this is the area where we can write our script. Okay, let's call group. I'll just name it as let's say getUser1. Okay, then we'll just make it function. Okay, just put opening bracket. Then yep, function. Next step is to define the constants again. What const we need to define is URL. So this URL is basically a request on which we are going to send the URL, send the request. And just copy it from here. Yep. So you got the URL. Next, const, you have to pass the headers, right? Headers. In headers you can define the array. If for this instance we only have a single header, which is our what is that, XAPI key. I'll just copy it from here. I'll pass it in single quotes, XAPI key, that should be like API key, right? So this way you can pass multiple headers into this. Okay, now yep, so we can move on to hit the request now. So how we can hit the request? Basically can pass const. So you will be storing that response, whatever we are doing further. Response is equals to, we'll call this http method, http.get. Get is the request type. Okay, into bracket you can pass the URL which we have defined above. Headers is what we have defined here. That's it. This will hit your get request. Next step, check responses. So I'll just call this check function. I'll put a bracket, response is, I'll just put status is 200. Okay, status is 200. Okay, so when it will be called, like I'll just put r dot status equals to 200. Right. Next we will just close the brackets. That's it. Let's try running this. I'll just put k6. This is the command to run the new script, and here we need to provide the path of file. So I'll just copy it, right click on this file. You will see the option copy path. I'll just copy the absolute path and put it here. So we got error here, unexpected. Did we make some mistake here? Just remove this extra bracket. Sorry. So our test 200 okay got succeeded. So in case if you additionally want to print the response as well, so you can just put console logs, console.log, in bracket you can say let's say response body colon space plus response dot body, so that we will be able to see the response, we will be able to print the response. Yep, so this was the response. So you can compare that with the one which we received through Postman. Now comes to hitting the request multiple times. I'll just close this terminal, I'll just reopen. Now I don't simply want to run the request, I have to fire multiple requests here, right? So I'll just put a k6 run. Then I have to define for how much duration you should fire those requests. So how we will be able to define -d. Then I'll define the duration in seconds. So I'll just put 60 seconds. Then we have to define the number of virtual users. So I'll just put -u and 10. So it will assume 10 virtual users. Then we have to put RPS. I'll just put RPS minus RPS is 10, and then I will put the path of file. So this test will assume to be executed for 60 seconds with 10 virtual users with RPS of 10. Let's run. So one thing you have noted, it's printing the response of all of the requests, which is not a ideal condition. So probably I'll stop the execution and we should comment out, because it consumes extra memory and takes extra time to print those logs. I'll reopen the terminal. I have commented out the print statement, whatever we have written. We are only interested in 200. Okay, so I'll just rerun once again. Yep. Cool. So this will take 1 minute time. I'll pause the video for now. I'll skip to end. Okay, so we are about to finish our load test of 1 minute. Almost 60 seconds are done. So here are the results of our load test. Let's try to read and understand the results. So this is total result details. You can see the total checks, total number of checks. That means total number of requests fired from our machine, 610. All of them got 200, so the percentage of success is 100%. Failed ones are 0. Here comes HTTP details, so you can check the request. This particular line is very important while benchmarking the resources, benchmarking the request, and the further details, right? So if you look into this, average request time was average response time was 20 millisecond. Minimum of them is like 16. Median was 20. Max duration was 35 millisecond. 90th percentile was 24 and 95th percentile was 25, right? HTTP request failed, since it's 0. HTTP request succeeded, 610. Here you can see, even though we defined RPS as 10, it could achieve 10.0 approximately 10 only. Here are execution details, what we used configured, what was max view used, and the network detail, what data bandwidth sent and received, right? Further, let's say if you are doing a resilience testing of your infrastructure, right, you should monitor your infra with some consistent load of, let's say, 5 minutes, right? So in that case, you can increase the number of virtual users, let's say 100, and you can fire huge requests. So time being, I'll just keep it 20. I think their pods have huge resources, so we can safely hit 100 RPS with 100 virtual users. Let's try for 20 seconds. I don't want to crash their infra. So if they have huge resources allocated, a huge number of pods allocated, if the scaling of the pods is proper, we will get all successful. Oh, I hope their pods are crashed and some of the requests got failed. So total of 47% requests are passed and rest of them are failed, right? So through which we can achieve only like 99 requests per second, and yeah, as I mentioned, their resources might be less. They might have pods, their pods might have went into the crash loop. So this is how you can reduce, increase number of views, number of RP requests per second, and check at what point your pods are crashing. Yep, so that's how we can perform the load test. So this just a beginning. We will start adding new tutorials for, let's say, post request, put request, patch request, delete request. So stay tuned, guys. Bye bye.